Revealed, the eerie connection of 7 haunting twins who spoke a forbidden language then vanished in Crestwood, a town that seemed to breathe nostalgia. The air was thick with whispers of the mysterious. The sun would set over the rolling hills, painting the sky in hues of blood orange and deep indigo, only to be interrupted by a chilling story that had the whole community on edge. The 7 identical sisters, known as the Hawthorne twins, vanished without a trace one fateful evening, leaving behind a gaping hole in the fabric of their small neighborhood. Their laughter, a melody, had enchanted the streets, while the curious cryptic language they spoke among themselves felt almost magical. Neighbors often caught snippets of hushed conversations, words that glimmered like hidden gems but never revealed their meaning. As days stretched into weeks, the peaceful charm of Crestwood faded, replaced by an unsettling tension. Alex Thompson, Crestwood's beloved elementary school teacher, could feel the shift amongst his students. They no longer played outside, their giggles silenced by unease. Every corner of town seemed under siege by fear. The eerie sounds echoing through the once cheerful nights turned the laughter of summer into a ghostly memory. Each crack of a twig made hearts race, and the kind-hearted residents, who once leaned on each other, began pointing fingers. Fear had woven distrust between neighbors. Determined to restore safety to his cherished town, Alex announced search parties. Be it a flash of dread coursing through him or a fierce defiance in standing up for what was right, he organized the townsfolk with resolute clarity. Armed with flashlights and boundless courage, they combed through the dense woods now shrouded in shadow, searching for any trace of the twins. But as the wind howled and the branches swayed ominously, whispers of the forbidden language grew louder in his mind. Was it real, or just the stuff of local legends? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Rumors emerged of shadowy figures flitting in the woods at night. One local even swore they caught sight of the twins in the distance, their ethereal forms glowing faintly under the moonlight, an image both haunting and seductive. With each passing day, the tension swirled tighter around Crestwood. Unnerving nightmares plagued the townsfolk. They awoke each night drenched in sweat, haunted by visions that tore at their sanity. It felt as though the very fabric of reality had begun to fray. Just as hope flickered dimly, Alex stumbled upon an ancient book tucked away in the back of the school library. It spoke of the twins' connection to an old language that supposedly held dark powers. A cold shiver ran down his spine. Could their disappearance be tied to these eerie tales of magic? The town with its proud history and quaint charm now stood on a precipice, tradition on one side, superstition on the other. Suddenly, unity had a price, and everything was about to change. As storm clouds gathered over Crestwood, shadows loomed larger than life. Alex could feel a chilling wind sweep through the town, the energy crackling, foreboding. What was it that stirred beneath the surface? When the winds whispered through the trees, it felt like a siren call, summoning them into the unknown. With the vanishing of the twins, Crestwood was about to discover its darkest secrets. But could they decipher the mysterious language before it consumed them all? The morning sky had turned a sullen gray, a reflection of the town's collective heartache. Alex stood in the center of the town square, surveying the faces of the gathered residents. Eyes that once sparkled with life were now clouded with confusion and fear. We need to find them. Sarah, a frail woman with tear-streaked cheeks, shouted. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, but beneath the surface lay a brewing storm of apprehension. Just as Alex was about to respond, a shrill scream pierced the air. The townsfolk turned, their breaths hitching in their throats as they saw a figure standing at the edge of the woods. It was a girl, hair wild and eyes wide, looking as if she had stepped out of a nightmare. She was covered in mud and leaves, trembling violently. "Help me!" she cried, her voice raspy and hoarse. "They're coming." Fear coiled tightly around Alex's chest. "Who is coming?" he asked, stepping forward. The twins? Worse, she replied, casting a terrified glance toward the trees, shadows shifting behind the bark as if they were breathing. They know the language and they're angry. The fear that enveloped Crestwood transformed into palpable terror. Alex's mind raced. This girl, who appeared from nowhere, had a connection to the twins. Her eyes held stories that hadn't been uttered yet. Calm down. You're safe now. Just tell us everything, he said gently, but as she trembled, she clutched her head, her eyes darting between Alex and the dark wood. You don't understand. They're not just gone. They're trapped. They they weren't supposed to. Her words spiraled, each syllable laced with dread, creeping deeper into Alex's psyche. What do you mean trapped? Before she could answer, two loud cracks echoed, and then silence engulfed them. The townsfolk turned toward the woods, where a sinister rustling crawled through the underbrush. Something was moving. Run! Everyone, get back! Alex shouted, adrenaline surging. Panic erupted as people stumbled over one another to flee. But he stood frozen, heart racing, drawn by a strange attraction to the encroaching shadows. The girl grasped his arm, her voice breaking through the chaos. You have to listen to me. The language, it's the key. You must find the others before it's too late. Others? Alex managed to ask, feeling a knot form in his stomach. What others? She glanced toward the woods, her breath hitching. The ones left behind. The shadows they take. They want the language to remain hidden. The very ground beneath them seemed to shift. A growl emanated from the trees, low and menacing, curling around them like smoke. Alex's instincts screamed to flee, but his curiosity waged war against his fear. Why do you know this? He pressed, his grip tightening on her arm. But before she could respond, an unnatural wind howled through the square, sending a chill deep into their bones. A ripple of darkness emerged at the edge of the woods, shapes coalescing into forms that looked almost human yet twisted and distorted. It was as if the shadows had come alive, demanding what was theirs. The girl let out a small whimper. We must go. But Alex stood, heart pounding relentlessly, every fiber of his being screaming against the instinct to turn and run. He had to know, he had to uncover the truth behind the shadows, this strange language, and the fate of the Hawthorne twins. Wait! He shouted into the darkness. What is the language? Words that bind, words that awaken. With that, the girl was swept back into the shadows, the figures advancing with an eerie grace, the air becoming thick and heavy. Alex! A voice called from behind him. It was Sarah, eyes flaring with both fear and determination. We can't let them take anyone else. But with that whisper, the ground trembled, and for a moment, everything froze. The twilight cast long shadows, and reality seemed to shimmer. If they didn't act, Crestwood would be swallowed whole. As Alex turned to gather the remaining townsfolk, the chilling realization struck him: the twins were not the only ones lost. They were merely the beginning. With urgency, he shouted, we need to unite. We must be the ones to speak the lost words before it's too late. But as he said it, a figure emerged from the woods, cloaked in darkness, whispering in a language that tumbled through the air like frost, and the very secrets of the twins were about to unravel. Would the townsfolk understand the power they were meant to wield, or was Crestwood destined to be lost forever? The air thickened as the figure stepped into the light, uncoiling its form like smoke rising off a dying fire. Alex's heart raced against the backdrop of hushed gasps. The twisted silhouette of a man loomed before them, his face obscured by the dark hood of a tattered cloak. With every breath the townsfolk took, the shadows seemed to cling tighter, invading their lungs like a chilling fog. Stay back! Alex shouted, channeling his fear into authority. The townspeople looked to him, searching for strength, but the shadows spread, snaking toward them. A dragging voice, raspy and ancient, hissed from the cloaked figure. You seek the twins, but first, you must pay a price. What kind of price? Alex demanded, trying to sound braver than he felt. The girl who had emerged earlier stood by him, her wild hair framing her white-knuckled grip on his arm. She shook her head, warning him, her eyes wide with terror. The figure lifted a hand, revealing long fingers that flickered like candle flames. Knowledge has a cost. The language you seek stems from sacrifice, from the very thread that binds life to that which yearns to take it. A horrified murmur washed over the crowd. Alex felt the crowd's fear like a palpable force, a wave of despair swelling behind him. Enough games. Just tell us what we have to do. The figure bent forward, the shadows coiling around its feet as if supporting its weight. The twins are not merely lost, they became vessels for something far greater. The language was meant to bind what you cherish with ancient power. What you must decide is this: are you willing to sacrifice one of your own to break the curse? No. Sarah cried, burying her face in her hands. You can't mean that. We won't pay any price. But that's exactly what they want, the girl whispered. Her face was pale, her trembling growing worse. They want us to turn against each other. The figure's mouth twisted into something resembling a smile, revealing teeth too sharp and too many. It isn't just what they desire, it's survival. To save the twins, someone must willingly step into the chasm. What chasm? Alex demanded, his voice shaking slightly, anger bubbling to the surface. The more he pressed, the more pressing the figure's gaze felt, cutting through him like a knife. Only when one chooses to sacrifice their essence for the fated souls can the darkness be undone, the figure said, venom dripping from every word. Only then can they emerge from their prison and emerge, as they were meant to be. The earth beneath them trembled violently, cracking the cobblestones of the town square. Alex staggered, his foot slipping slightly, and the fleeting thought of the twins' innocent faces filled his mind. He had to save them. He had to do something. Is it worth it? The girl asked, her voice a haunted whisper. What if the twins come back changed? What if they don't even remember us? An uneasy silence enveloped them, the tension palpable as the outline of the dark figure ebbed and flowed like a tide. Every heart raced in unison, each face reflecting the severity of the dilemma hanging in the air. Alex felt a lump form in his throat. The choice before them was guttered in agony. Did they dare risk everything for the hope that those they loved might return, even if it meant losing someone else forever? As the shadows deepened, thick and oppressive, Alex realized they had moments to decide. The cloaked figure's eyes glinted with malice, urging them to choose. He could feel the darkness pulsing, waiting for an answer. Crestwood will be lost, unless the figure's voice faded into the swell of the wind, leaving a gut-wrenching question hanging in the air. But what if sacrifice wasn't the only way to break the curse? The shadow pulse quickened, hungry for their decision, as the faces around him blurred in a whirl of dread. They had to act before the woods decided for them. Thunder rumbled in the distance, a dark omen that matched the turmoil in Alex's heart. The figure leaned closer, shadows swirling around it like a living veil, suffocating their surroundings. Fear wove through the crowd, tightening their chests. You cannot afford to hesitate, it hissed, each word a blow to their resolve. What do you mean, the chasm? Alex insisted, trying to pierce the malicious calm that enveloped them. You talk about sacrifice like it's nothing. Sacrifice is never nothing, the figure replied, its tone edging closer to amusement. It is the purest form of love, child. The twins chose this fate. You can do the same. But choose wisely. Time felt brittle, cracking under the weight of their indecision. Alex's eyes darted to the townsfolk faces pale and twisting with fear. Sarah's hand gripped his tighter, her breath quickening in time with her growing panic. We can't let them control us. Control. The figure chuckled, a low, sinister sound. You give me too much credit. The woods hold deeper secrets, and I am simply a guide through the shadows. The choice entirely belongs to you. Alex felt heat rise in his chest, anger burbling alongside the dread. Our choice is to throw someone into a trap to save the twins. He shot back, eyes blazing with defiance. "No. We can find another way." "It is the only way," the figure responded, voice now flat, echoing into the darkening sky. "You think you can outsmart the very essence of what binds this reality? The twins are entombed in a place beyond your reach, beyond your understanding. The woods thirst for a balance only a sacrifice can provide." Sarah squeezed his arm, her eyes pleading. "Don't listen to him, Alex. It's manipulation. We can't do this. What if they come back changed?" The girl beside him whispered, her voice quivering. "What if they're not our siblings anymore?" The figure stood still, watching, waiting, as the group wrestled with their fears. Each second stretched, an agonizing eternity as choices spun like a tornado in their minds. Alex saw the fear sprouting into doubt, creating fissures in their unity. "Perhaps," the figure said slowly, as if savoring the moment, "if no sacrifice is made, you will learn what true loss means. The twins will fade into nothingness, lost to eternity, while you bear the burden of your cowardice." The air crackled with intensity, breaths held captive by unspoken horror. "Fight among yourselves or unite to choose, what will it be?" Alex took a shaky breath. The world around him spun, every heartbeat pounding in his ears. "We need to remember we're not just stakes in this game. We are more powerful together than apart. The twins wouldn't want this." But even as he spoke, shadows encroached further, clutching at their legs, whispering threats that gnawed on their resolve. As despair mixed with his mounting determination, a thought flickered in his mind. "Maybe there is a way to navigate this darkness without sacrificing anyone," he said aloud, his voice steadier than he felt. The figure's smile twisted, teeth glinting in the pale light. "Hope is a fragile thing, young one. Do you wish to tread on its thin thread?" With each passing moment, the stakes rose higher. Would they find strength in unity, or let the shadows divide them? As if to punctuate the turmoil, a piercing scream echoed from the woods, chilling the very marrow in their bones. Faces turned, horror etching deeper lines into their features. "Did you hear that?" Someone gasped. The figure faded slightly into the dark, the flickering shadows converging around. "Time grows short, and the woods are restless chews." Alex's mind raced, battling with his heart. Could they break the curse without sacrifice? With the chilling reality of the scream ringing in their ears, Alex made his decision, but uncertainty clung to him like the oppressive shadows. "Prepare for what's ahead. We may have to confront darkness in ways we never imagined." As the wind howled and the shadows loomed, the weight of their next move pressed down heavy. Would hope lead them to freedom, or guide them straight into the maw of despair? The scream lingered in the air, an echo of terror that refused to fade. Alex's stomach knotted as questions swirled around him like the very shadows crawling at their feet. What had truly happened to the twins? A gust of icy wind twisted through the crowd, nipping at their exposed skin. "Who's out there?" Alex shouted into the darkness, heart pounding. No answer came, just the rustle of leaves whispering secrets that left him cold. The figure glided silently, its dark form swaying like a wisp of smoke, urging their fears to take root. "We have to decide." Sarah's voice trembled, but her eyes held a flicker of determination. "Whatever's out there, we can't let it intimidate us into hurting each other." "You're right," Alex said, though doubt gnawed at him. "But what if we don't have a choice? What if the twins? It doesn't matter," the girl beside him interjected, her voice rising, almost pleading. "They're still them, our brothers and sisters. We can't let fear turn us against one another." The figure's eyes glinted, a sinister understanding sparkling in their depths. "Ah, the sweet scent of defiance. But remember, this darkness feeds on your fear. The more you waver, the stronger it grows." The words dripped with malice, and Alex couldn't shake off the feeling that they were being hunted. The townsfolk huddled together, casting glances at each other, uncertainty making them twitchy. They needed a plan. An answer that wouldn't involve sending someone to their doom. Suddenly, another scream pierced the night. This one was closer, raw with agony, achingly familiar. The gathered group recoiled, horror washing over them like a tidal wave. That sounded like... Sarah shrieked, her face pale. "Don't!" Alex shouted, the urge to rush forward clashing with the chilling realization that they could walk into a trap. The figure's laughter echoed cruelly. "What is stopping you?" It taunted, its tone dripping with derision. "Your bond is weak, and the truth is what lurks beyond. What if this is a test of what you truly desire?" The shadows twisted and danced around Alex and his friends, pulling them toward the depths of the trees. They had to act fast. With the twins' fate hanging precariously, they could no longer afford to be paralyzed by fear. "Remember the stories," Alex shouted, trying to rouse the fire within them. "The old legends say that those lost in the woods might return if we call their names. We can summon them. Do you really believe that?" Someone muttered, but Alex pressed on, fueled by adrenaline and determination. Each heartbeat pushed him closer to confidence. "Together," he urged, gripping Sarah's hand tighter. "Let us chant their names. Let us show this darkness that we're not afraid." "Lucas!" Sarah exclaimed, her voice firm. "Emily!" Another called out. "Twins, return to us!" Alex yelled, filled with a sudden surge of hope. They echoed the names back and forth, their voices rising together like a chorus, a lighthouse standing strong against the tempest, but as the names filled the night, the ground trembled beneath them. Shadows roared to life, twisting violently around the group. The figures shrieked, the sound a blend of anger and despair. "You dare invoke their names? You think it will save you?" The force of it pressed against them, and Alex felt the warmth of hope flicker perilously close to extinguishing. As the shadows lunged, reality fractured. In an instant, a blinding light blazed from the woods, illuminating everything in a ghostly glow. The crowd gasped, some falling to their knees, instinctively covering their eyes from the glare, and just like that, the world around them shattered, leaving them hanging in uncertainty, suspended between hope and despair. Was this their chance? Had they found the way to battle the darkness? Or had they opened a door better left closed? With the rending light blinding them, a new figure emerged from the depths of the woods, silhouetted against the radiance. As the crowd shielded their eyes in both anticipation and fear, Alex's heart raced. Who or what had crossed the threshold into their reality? "Prepare yourselves." The figure beckoned, voice both commanding and gentle. "For the answers you seek may cost more than what you are willing to pay." As the shadows writhed and the light enveloped them, Alex felt the weight of their choice looming larger than ever. Would they walk the line between life and death together, or fracture forever beneath the pressure? Curtains had drawn on their moment of hope, and the final act was about to play out. The blinding light enveloped them, forcing Alex to squint, his heart pounding in his chest. Panic raced through him, urging him to break free from the dark tendrils that clawed at the edges of his mind. The figure remained steadfast, its outline flickering like a candle against a storm. "Stay together," he shouted, grabbing Sarah's hand. The whole group seemed frozen, as if suspended in time. His voice trembled, but it cut through the suffocating darkness like a knife. "What do you want from us?" shouted a desperate voice from the crowd. The question hung heavy in the air, pregnant with despair and determination. Alex felt the tension rising like a wave ready to crash. "Desire," the figure trailed off, a smile unfurling across its face, revealing jagged teeth glinting in the light. "And fear. You are right to fear what you do not understand. But isn't that the sweetest piece of existence to unravel those mysteries together?" The crowd exchanged wary glances. There was a dangerous allure to the figure's words, like honey laced with poison. They were terrified, but it was also the terror that bound them, an invisible thread that tied them to each other. "Perhaps what you seek are answers," the figure continued, stepping closer. Everyone felt the chill spilling off of it, pricking their skins with goosebumps. "Or perhaps it is the truth you were too afraid to confront." "What are you talking about?" yelled Sarah, stepping to the front. The fire in her voice echoed against the trees, creating ripples of strength that broke through the paralyzing fear. If you have their souls, let them go. A low, rumbling laugh echoed through the clearing. Landmarks of their childhood trees, rocks, anything familiar seemed to shudder under its reverberation. Not so simple, little girl. The twins are intertwined with this darkness. It's where they found their power. What do you mean? Alex demanded, the unease swirling into anger. You're lying. They would never. They spoke a forbidden language, the figure interjected, gesturing toward the shadows that danced like restless spirits. They made a pact, binding themselves to the secrets of the wood. It is both their sanctuary and their prison. As the figure spoke, images flickered in the light, a flash of laughter, warmth, and joy entwined with shadows curling around them. Memories twisted and distorted until they threatened to suffocate him. Stop it! Alex screamed, trying to block out the memories. We will save them. They are trespassers in this realm, the figure hissed, eyes glistening like pools of malice. To save them, you must offer something else. Something far more precious than your lives, your trust. A murmur swept through the crowd, uncertainty laced with fear. What would they lose if they gave in? Was trust even a currency they could afford? The shadows converged, swirling menacingly around them. The light throbbed, flickering like a heartbeat on the brink of collapse. In that moment, Alex realized they weren't just fighting for the twins, they were fighting for themselves, for the bonds that tied them together, and for the truth that had been hidden beneath the surface. Let us do it. He shouted, clenching his fists at his sides in determination. Whatever it takes, we'll face it together. As if ignited by his words, the crowd mirrored him, drawing closer, shoulders pressed together. The figure's smile widened, teeth flashing, revealing the allure of dark promises. So it begins. The choice is yours, but make it wisely. Before Alex could respond, the ground beneath them trembled, unfurling with cracks, shadows spilling out like smoke from a dying fire. From within, echoing voices whispered hauntingly, and the air was thick with secrets that could shatter them all. Alex! Sarah gasped, eyes wide, realizing the consequences of their decision. What have we done? As the darkness pulsed, tremors rattled their resolve, and Alex knew the true nature of the choice they had just made. The echoes would not go unheard, and deep down, he sensed that some doors, once opened, could never be closed. What awaited them beyond? The veil of shadows? The answer might unveil horrors they were never ready to face. And yet, the twins were somewhere within that darkness, clamoring for freedom. As the shadows thickened, a deep, rumbling voice rose above the chaos. You have awakened the guardians of this realm. Are you prepared to face their judgment? With hearts racing and breath hitching, they stood at the brink of a choice that would change everything. Would they descend deeper into the dark, or fight against the tide? The answer was just out of reach, but they had to find it before the shadows swallowed them whole. The ground shook violently, reverberating through Alex's bones as the shadows clawed at the edges of their vision. He felt Sarah's hand slipping in his grip, panic rising again like bile in his throat. The air thickened, pulsing with anticipation, a puppet held on a string by the figure's gnarled fingertips. Stay together. He shouted once more, but doubts gnawed at him. What if this was a mistake? Could trust ever be more costly than their lives? The echoes of whispered voices grew louder, intertwining and overlapping like a chaotic symphony of despair. They spoke of ancient rites and forgotten promises, of sorrows that stretched back years into the very veins of the forest. Each word hit like a dagger, buried deep in their minds. Do you see? The figure hissed, stepping forward. Your past is interwoven with the darkness. It is all-consuming and inescapable. The shadows danced as if eager to share their stories, writhing with unbridled energy. We mustn't listen. Sarah gasped, eyes darting around, clearly shaken. They want to divide us. Don't let them. But Alex was already grappling with the truth embedded in the figure's words. Shadows flickered glimpses of the twins' childhood laughter twisted into pain, innocence traded for intrigue. The allure of the secrets grew, a siren's call echoing in his ears. He had to act, and fast. Guardians of this realm. Alex shouted, forcing his voice through the chaos. We're not afraid of your judgment. We came here to save the twins, no matter the cost. The shadows recoiled for a heartbeat, then surged forward, a cascade of nightmares enveloping them. Dread coiled around their hearts, but something in Alex surged. Were they truly ready to confront this darkness? Together, he commanded, his voice a lifeline. With a collective breath, the group joined hands, forming a fragile circle against the onslaught. Whatever this is, we'll face it. The air stilled, heavy with tension. The figure watched, eyes gleaming with an unsettling hunger. Foolish mortals. You think you can withstand the truth? It will devour you from the inside out. A shimmering light erupted, fragile but bright, a small spark against the encroaching night. It felt like the warmth of friendship, hope, and determination, swaddled in the hands of the terrified crowd. They held on, trembling but united. One by one, emboldened, voices rose in affirmation. We can do this. We are not alone. Show us. Very well, the figure conceded, its smile turning almost sweet. Embrace the past. Embrace the darkness. Only then will you find what you seek. And then a deafening silence fell, all sounds swallowed by the thick shadows closing in. In that eerie stillness, the guardians began to form. A myriad of faces manifested from the shadows, haunted looks etched with lost resolves. Each one told a story of sacrifice, regret, and promise. What are you? Sarah cried, tears glistening in her eyes. Why are you here? We are the echoes of those who've fallen to the whispers of this wood, a voice broke through, steady yet mournful. And you've drawn our attention, awakened by your call. Those who seek the twins now stand at the threshold of their own fates. The chill in the air intensified as the figures circled, closing in on the group. The weight of history pressed down on them, and Alex felt every heartbeat echo in the depths of his soul. What kind of judgment awaited them? As a voice slithered through the darkness, taunting and inviting all at once, Alex realized the stakes had raised immeasurably. Will you sacrifice yourselves to save the twins? Or will you turn back, leaving them to face their own shadows alone? With choices piling up like stones on a fragile scale, they had to decide. The weight of their decision hung in the air like a guillotine's blade, ready to drop. Would they descend further into darkness or battle the judgment that awaited them? The ground felt unsteady beneath their feet, and Alex knew the time for contemplation was running out. Shadows writhed and beckoned, whispering secrets that could unravel their very identities. Are you ready? His heart thundered. The only answer was the hungry silence, and a creeping dread of what they might uncover next. What awaited them in the depths of their own dark hearts? The shadows surged, throbbing like a living thing, and Alex felt the weight of the figures pressing down as they veered closer. Their eyes, once something purely ethereal, now gleamed with an unsettling clarity that cut through Alex's bravado. This was not just a test, it was a reckoning. Stand firm. He yelled, gripping Sarah's hand tighter. Her skin was cold against his, sending ice through his veins. He could see fear reflected in her eyes, twisting beneath the strained weight of uncertainty. One of the figures, a woman with gaunt cheeks and sunken eyes, stepped forward, her voice laced with sorrow. You think this is about courage? The cost of uncovering the truth is steep. Would you rather live in blissful ignorance than face whose shadows you must confront? Alex's stomach churned. He could feel the insidious pull of the shadows, promising answers, laying bare the intricacies of his past. Voices from the corners of his mind whispered tales of regret, of a time when he hadn't protected the twins when they needed him most. No. Sarah's voice broke the trance. This isn't about the past. Isn't it? The figure countered, her tone sharp like winter frost. Every choice you make echoes through time. Your failure to confront your past has already sentenced the twins. With each step backward, their fate darkens. A collective gasp rippled through the group. Alex's heart raced as reality twisted sharply. The twins were tied to them in ways they hadn't fully grasped, emotions and regrets coiling around their fates. Enough! Alex shouted, fear morphing into defiance. We won't let you play with our minds. If we're here to face judgment, then let it come. The figures shifted, dark robes billowing in an unseen wind. They seemed to draw closer, swallowing light and hope with their mere presence. A low murmur spiraled among them, weaving tales of losses and shadows, heartaches long forgotten. It blended into a menacing hum, each note teasing at fears buried deep within. Together. He called, engaging the group again, echoing his earlier cry. If we can't face our own demons, how can we save the twins? We want to let this darkness take hold. As they joined hands once more, the flicker of shared determination gleamed brighter. Alex could see faith sparking in the faces around him. Even amidst the cacophony of despair, they were finding strength. But at what price? The haunting voice cocked its head, taunting. What will you sacrifice to forge the path to light? What of your darkest secrets? For a moment, silence hung thick in the air. Alex felt sweat bead on his brow, tension settling in his stomach. Would revealing their darkest moments be the key to their survival? The shadows wailed and writhed, and Alex could hear Sarah's breath hitch beside him as echoes of long-forgotten memories seeped through the air. Emotions surged like waves crashing against the shore of his mind. Broken promises, a fateful mishap that listlessly danced in the echoes of their past that he forced himself to meet Sarah's gaze. We will share everything, we owe it to the twins and ourselves. There was a flicker of indignation in her eyes, mingled with fear. Suddenly, the shadows screamed an ear-splitting wail, and Alex jumped. Flames flickered to life, illuminating the faces of the guardians surrounding them, revealing not mere horrors but the heartache of those who had come before. What have you done? He gasped as memories and pains filtered into the light. Their own failures, their own regrets stretched out before them like a gallery, waiting to be judged, and just as quickly, the light waned. The growls of shadows grew louder, mocking their visible weakness, ready to pounce. With courage hanging in the balance, Alex fought against the rising panic. We are not just our mistakes. He cried out, voice trembling yet resolute. Show us the way. The ground trembled beneath them again. Would they confront the weight of their truths, or would the truth be turned against them? The darkness around them tightened, revealing another layer of horror. The moment had arrived. Will you bear all, or will you shatter beneath the pressure? The figure hissed, and the silence screamed back. Their decision loomed like a shadow below the surface. Would they embrace their pain or crumble beneath it? A chilling silence chased away the sound of Alex's heart, leaving only the heavy breathing of his team in its wake. The shadows encased them, the dark figures watching, waiting, their presence like a noose tightening around the group. Please, Sarah whispered, her voice trembling like a leaf caught in a storm. What do you want us to confess? The gaunt woman stepped closer, her features sharp and etched with sorrow, her gaze piercing through Alex as if searching his soul. Confession is but the first step. The truth must be laid bare, or the twins will perish in darkness. A wave of desperation washed over Alex. They had sacrificed so much already. How much more could they expose? We'll share, he said, his voice steady despite the panic clawing at him. But know that it won't be easy. Easy rarely accompanies the light, the figure replied, tilting her head as if considering a fleeting thought. Suddenly, it was as if the shadows leaned in, eager to hear their vile secrets. Each participant shivered, haunted by their private demons. What lurked in their minds? Alex swallowed hard, urging Sarah to press onward. Do it. Start with me. A hush fell over the group as they awaited Alex's revelation. Memories splintered in his mind, moments he had locked away in careless disregard. I didn't save them when I should have, he stammered. They were counting on me. The weight of anguish cut deep as guilt surged within him. he could almost see the twins' frightened faces flash before him. As his confession left his lips, the shadows around them pulsed, seeming to suck in his pain, wrapping it in shadowy shrouds. The hollow whispers from the figures welcomed his admission, and a flicker of light sparked before them. Pathetic, the gaunt woman spat, her voice reverberating with cruel laughter. What's your pain next to worlds lost? An unseen force pressed down on him, an invisible hand clamped over his throat. Alex gasped, and Sarah squeezed his hand. Don't! She pleaded. He felt her resolve strengthening, filtering through the darkness threatening to swallow him whole. Step forward, then, if you wish to save the twins. The figure called out, as if challenging Sarah to confront her fears. Without hesitation, Sarah stepped into the light, her voice shaking but fierce. I abandoned my little brother, she said, each word forced out like shards of glass. I thought I was protecting him, but instead, I left him unguarded. At her confession, shadows writhed in response, hungry for the raw emotion spilling forth. The darkness pulsed around them, abrasive and insatiable, drawing life from their vulnerabilities. The light grew, revealing a grotesque blend of shadows swirling like smoke caught in a whirlwind. Suddenly, another voice broke through the thick tension. You have no idea what you're leaving behind. It was David, a member of their group, his face pale and stricken. I was complicit in letting it happen. I should have known. The words tumbled out, as if they had scratched and clawed their way to freedom. With each shared truth, tremors rattled through the group. The shadows flicked violently, their growls morphing into gut-wrenching cries of anguish, drawn from histories buried deep within. The ominous tone grew louder, echoing fears and regrets that reverberated through them like a chorus of sorrow. What have we done? Alex muttered to himself, dread bubbling at the surface. Was revealing their darkness the key, or would it send them spiraling farther into despair? The shadows began to shift again, their forms elongating, twisting and knotting like serpents preparing to strike. More. The figure taunted, inching closer. The past is the key to your freedom, but it comes with chains. Who else will step into the light? A deafening roar erupted from the darkness, the shadows swirling faster, threatening to consume them entirely. Alex felt his chest tightening with fear as more members of their group fell silent, eyes cast down, battling their own hidden ghosts. Face it. He shouted into the void. We can't let the twins suffer because we're afraid. But with each passing heartbeat, the shadows seemed to feast on their hesitation, tightening their grip as they converged, an avalanche of darkness breaking against their resolve. Then, with terrifying clarity, a figure slinked forth from the shadows, the twins ethereal, hovering, eyes wide with silent fear. Help us, they chanted, their voices ethereal whispers layered with urgency. In that haunting moment, the weight of their past seemed unbearable. Would confronting their shadows set them free, or would it usher in their doom? Will you unleash your nightmares or shield them? The figure hissed, joyfully anticipating their choice. As the darkness surged, Alex could feel it tightening, but also a flickering spark of hope in the air, a chance to unravel their destinies. Before he could react, the shadows lunged, and he realized they had to act now. Jump! He screamed, gripping Sarah's hand tightly. Together. But would they plunge into despair, or would light break through as they dove into the depths of their truths? Would this leap save the twins, or was it the very thing that would doom them all? The shadows tightened their grip, coiling like a serpent ready to strike as Alex shouted, "Jump!" He felt the warmth of Sarah's hand in his, firm and unwavering, pushing him to move forward. The twins' voices echoed in his mind, a haunting melody of longing and love, urging them to fight against the creeping darkness. Together they leaped, plunging into the unknown, the world shattered in a kaleidoscope of light and darkness. Colors flickered around them, swirling and twisting as if the very fabric of their reality was being forged anew. Hearts raced, and for a brief, dizzying moment, time lost its grip, leaving them suspended in a space between fear and hope, and then silence. A heavy, suffocating silence. No shadows, no whispers. Just the soft rustle of leaves and the distant sound of flowing water. The cold seeped into their bones, yet something felt different. As they opened their eyes to the dim light around, it was as if they'd stepped into another world entirely, a place steeped in familiarity and yet coated with the remnants of dreams. "Where are we?" someone whispered, but Alex felt the answer blooming in his chest. "Home," he breathed, taking in the serene surroundings. Here, the trees stood tall, their branches swaying gently, almost in greeting. The warmth of the sun poured through the leaves, filling them with newfound energy. It felt like Crestwood, yet changed. Rich colors danced around them, vibrant shades embracing their presence, and then they saw them. Emerging from the sensuous shadows between the trees, the Hawthorne twins appeared. Lucas and Emily stood with fearful yet sparkling eyes, their forms shimmering, radiating a light that cut through the fog of despair. Despite the ethereal quality of their beings, they looked just as they always had, alive, brilliant, and utterly mesmerizing. "Alex!" Emily called out, voice lilting with joy and sorrow. "You found us. What happened? What's out this place?" Alex rushed forward, swallowed by relief and confusion. Lucas stepped closer, eyes knowing and wide. "This is where lost things come to mend, where shadows and light intertwine. But we're not free yet." "What do you mean?" Sarah interjected, fear flooding her voice. The twins exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them, heartrending yet tender. "We've been caught between worlds, trapped by our own choices and the darkness that lurks within," Lucas explained, gesturing around. "You called us here through your courage, your willingness to face the truth. But it's not enough yet. What do we have to do?" Alex's voice was steady, hope flickering back to life inside him. "You must confront the darkness of your past fully," Emily replied, her gaze piercing. "Embrace the hurt, the betrayals, the fears that bind you to the shadows. Only then can the binding spell be severed." With a collective breath, Alex and the townsfolk stood tall, understanding crystallizing. They needed to confront not only their fears but also the inevitable pain that came from unearthing buried truths. As one, they began to share their deepest secrets, the burden of guilt weighing down their hearts. Each revelation felt like a stone dropped into the still waters of the past, rippling outward, washing over the brothers and sisters, revealing painful memories that had long clung to their souls. "I was jealous," Sarah confessed, her voice breaking slightly. "Jealous of how much they sparkled, how everyone loved them. I pushed them away instead of reaching out. I ignored Amy's cries for help." David choked out, eyes darting as if reliving the moment. "I failed her when she needed me." Each confession fell like rain onto parched earth, soaking deep into the ground, and with each drop, the fog began to lift around the twins, their ethereal glow growing brighter. "We made a pact in foolishness," Lucas said, his voice trembling with sincerity. "We thought we could master the shadows, but instead, we became something worse. We lost ourselves." With every heartfelt admission, with every shared truth, the shadows that had clung to the twins began to unravel. The air around them shimmered, a clear distinction between darkness and light. What had once felt like a curse was transforming back into connection, into love, and then, as the last pain was shared, the air filled with blinding light, eclipsing everything around them. "Now you're free," Emily whispered, joy and relief etching across her delicate features as she reached out towards her siblings and friends. "All of you." As the light enveloped them, a tide of warmth washed over every person, comforting and healing. When it receded, they found themselves back in the town square, the shadows dissipated, leaving only sunlit warmth and laughter in their wake. Crestwood was alive again, the morning sun cascading golden rays over the horizon, embracing every heart that had once been filled with fear. The townsfolk exchanged glances filled with joy and relief, hugging each other tightly, all breathing in the crisp, clean air, free from the weight of the shadows. They turned to the twins, ready to embrace them in gratitude, but the twins exchanged knowing smiles, before slowly fading back into the past. "Always remember us," Lucas whispered softly, as their forms shimmered until only a flicker of light remained. "And remember, it's your bond that creates magic." As their shimmering presence subsided, Alex and Sarah stood together, feeling the warmth of their failure transform into resolve. The town, their community, had weathered the storm, not one soul sacrificed, but bonds forged anew. In unity, they turned to leave the town square, hearts alight with hope, ready to rebuild and reclaim their lives. Crestwood was theirs once more, and in its shadowy past lay a lesson about courage, love, and the power of facing your truths together. But even as they walked away, they couldn't forget. Shadows lingered, waiting to test them once more. Now, let me take a moment to remind you of something huge. If you loved this conclusion, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on more exclusive stories like this. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. It really makes a difference. Don't wait even one more second. Flood the comments section with your reactions. I want to hear your thoughts and theories about what just went down, and finally, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Share the love, because stories like this deserve to be celebrated and told far and wide.